She hadn't told him about going to the police. The last thing she wanted was a confrontation with him, especially now that everything was so precariously balanced. But ignoring Nathan wouldn't help either. She had to face this. With trembling hands, she answered the call. "Hello. Sarah." Nathan's voice was calm, too calm. "We need to talk." I don't think we should," she stammered. "I've decided I'm not going to take your offer." There was a brief silence on the other end, and then Nathan chuckled, a low, ominous sound that sent a chill down her spine. "Not taking my offer? That's a bold move. But I think you're underestimating the position you're in." "I went to the police," Sarah blurted out, her heart racing. "They are investigating the loan company. I don't need your help." There was another pause, this time longer, heavier. "I see," Nathan finally said, his tone sharp and cutting. "Well, I hope they act fast. Because I have a feeling that 48 hours isn't enough time for them to save you." Sarah's breath hitched. "Nathan, what are you talking about? You think you can just go to the cops and that's the end of it," he said, his voice hardening. "Sarah, you're in over your head. And now, so am I. You've made things more complicated than they needed to be. If I were you, I'd start looking over my shoulder." He hung up before she could respond, leaving her with nothing but the sound of the dial tone and the sickening realization that Nathan wasn't bluffing. He knew about her trip to the police, and now he was coming after her. Panicked, she rushed to the living room where Michael sat, staring at his laptop. He looked up at her, concerned. "What's wrong?" "It's Nathan," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "He knows I went to the police. And he is threatening me." Michael's face darkened. "What did he say?" Sarah swallowed hard. "He said I should start looking over my shoulder." Michael shot up from the couch, his hands balling into fists. "That's it. I'm not letting this guy mess with you anymore. We are going to handle this." "But how?" Sarah asked, panic rising in her chest. "He's not just going to go away. He's dangerous, Michael." Michael paced the room, thinking. "The police are already involved, but we can't just wait around for them. We need to be proactive." He stopped pacing and looked at Sarah, his eyes filled with determination. "I have an idea. We'll use Nathan's own greed against him." Sarah frowned. "What do you mean?" Michael sat back down, gesturing for her to do the same. "Nathan's all about control, right? He thrives on power, on people owing him. But if we make him think there's more to gain, something bigger at stake, he might back off. We just need leverage." Sarah shook her head. "Leverage? We don't have anything to bargain with." "We might," Michael said, leaning closer. "Nathan doesn't know everything. He doesn't know that you went to the police with the full story. He doesn't know how much they already know about the loan company. We can use that. Make him think that if he presses too hard, it'll all come crashing down on him." Sarah's mind raced, trying to keep up with Michael's plan. "But what if it doesn't work? What if he calls our bluff?" Michael's eyes hardened. "Then we go to the press. We expose everything. Nathan's reputation, the loan company, everything. I know a few journalists who would jump at the chance to take down a guy like him." The idea sent a surge of both fear and hope through Sarah. It was risky, dangerous, even, but it was better than sitting around waiting for Nathan to make the next move. "What do we do first?" she asked, her voice steadier now. Michael grabbed his phone. "We set up a meeting with him. Face to face. He needs to see that we're not afraid, that we're serious about taking this public if he doesn't back off." Sarah nodded, her resolve hardening. "Okay. Let's do it." That evening, they met Nathan at a quiet bar on the outskirts of the city, a place Michael had chosen carefully. It was out of the way, unassuming, and far from prying eyes. Nathan arrived exactly on time, as if he had nothing to fear. He greeted them with a smile, his polished demeanor unchanged despite the tension in the air. "Michael," Nathan said coolly as he took a seat across from them. "Sarah. You didn't have to make this so difficult." Michael didn't respond. He leaned forward, his eyes locked on Nathan. "You're going to back off?" Nathan raised an eyebrow, smacking. "Back off? Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't," Michael continued, his voice low and steady, "we're going public with everything. The police know enough to start taking action, and if we add a media spotlight to that, your little empire will crumble." Nathan's smirk faded, his eyes narrowing as he studied Michael. "You think you're in a position to threaten me? You're bluffing." "Are we?" Michael asked, pulling out his phone. "I have contacts in the media. One call, and your name's all over the headlines. Shady investor linked to illegal loan operations. It won't take long for people to start digging." Nathan's expression darkened. He glanced at Sarah, then back at Michael, weighing his options. "You think you can just walk away from this?" Nathan finally said, his voice low and dangerous. "This isn't a game, Michael. I've been in this business for years. People like you don't scare me." Michael didn't flinch. "Maybe. But people like us are the ones who take you down." For a moment, the three of them sat in silence, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Then Nathan leaned back, his face unreadable. "I'll consider your offer," he said, his voice tight with barely concealed anger. "But don't think this is over." Michael didn't blink. "It is for you." Nathan stood up abruptly, throwing one last glare at Sarah before walking out of the bar without another word. The sound of the door closing behind him felt like a release of breath Sarah hadn't realized she'd been holding. She looked at Michael, her heart still pounding. "Do you think it worked?" Michael exhaled slowly, his shoulders relaxing. "We'll see." But for now, he's backed off. For the next few days, Sarah and Michael waited in a tense silence, unsure if Nathan would make another move. But as the days passed and no further threats came, Sarah felt a tight knot in her chest start to loosen. Maybe, just maybe, they had done enough to scare him off. One afternoon, Michael received a call from the police. They had gathered enough evidence to launch a full investigation into the loan company, and Nathan's name had come up in connection with several illegal practices. The investigation would take time, but for now, Sarah was in the clear. The legal threats were off the table. As she sat beside Michael, listening to the officer's words, Sarah felt the weight that had been pressing down on her for so long finally start to lift. They had made it through. But even as the relief washed over her, she knew the cost. The trust between her and Michael had been fractured, and though they had faced this crisis together, there was still a long road ahead. Rebuilding what they had lost wouldn't be easy. But for the first time in a long time, Sarah felt like they had a chance. A week had passed since the police call, and while the immediate threat of Nathan had faded, the tension in the air between Sarah and Michael was palpable. Every conversation felt like a delicate dance, each word carefully measured to avoid touching the raw wounds still healing between them. But even in the silence, there was an understanding, a shared knowledge that they had come out of this together, even if they weren't sure what the future held. Sarah spent the days wrapping up her obligations at the gallery and sorting through what little remained of her finances. With the loan crisis behind her, she had more breathing room, but the gallery still struggled. Every empty wall seemed to echo her own uncertainty, her dreams of a thriving art space feeling distant and fragile. As she sat at her desk one evening, reviewing bills and unanswered emails, Michael stepped into the room, his face soft, but thoughtful. He hadn't pressed her much since the ordeal with Nathan had ended, but tonight, there was something different in his expression. "Sarah," he began, sitting across from her. "We need to talk." Her heart sank at those familiar words. "About what?" Michael leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "About us." Sarah's chest tightened. "I know I've messed things up, Michael. I know I lied and—" "I'm not here to blame you," he interrupted gently. "I've been thinking about everything that's happened. The loan, Nathan, the lies, all of it." Sarah's hands clenched in her lap, waiting for the inevitable. "And I think we need to decide where we go from here," he continued, his tone calm but serious. "We've been through hell, Sarah, and I won't pretend things haven't changed between us. Trust, it's going to take time to rebuild. But I don't want to keep living with this distance between us." Sarah felt a tear slip down her cheek, but she wiped it away quickly. "What are you saying?" Michael took a deep breath. "I'm saying I want to move forward. Together. But that means we have to be honest with each other from now on. No more secrets. No more hiding things because we're afraid of how the other person will react. If we are going to make this work, we have to rebuild from the ground up." Sarah looked at him, her heart swelling with a mix of relief and uncertainty. "I want that too, Michael. I'm so sorry for everything. I should have trusted you from the beginning." Michael nodded, his expression softening. "We can't change what's already happened. But we can learn from it. We got through the worst of it, and I think we can get through this too." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything between them finally lifting. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt like she could breathe again. "There's one more thing," Michael added, his voice lightening. "I've been thinking about the gallery. I know it's been hard lately, but what if we change things up a bit?" Sarah raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Michael smiled, a spark of excitement flickering in his eyes. "I've been talking to some of my contacts. What if we transform the gallery into something more interactive? Not just a place to display art, but a space where people can come in and create, learn, get hands-on experience. Workshops, events, something that makes the gallery stand out." Sarah blinked, surprised by the idea. "You want to help me with the gallery?" Michael chuckled. "It's your passion, Sarah. I know you've been struggling with it, but maybe this is a way to bring it back to life. We could do it together." A warm feeling spread through Sarah's chest. After everything that had happened, she had expected their relationship to crumble. But here he was, offering not only forgiveness but a chance to rebuild, together. I love that idea," Sarah said, a genuine smile spreading across her face for the first time in what felt like forever. "I think it could work." Michael reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "So do I." In the weeks that followed, Sarah and Michael threw themselves into the gallery's transformation. They redesigned the space, reaching out to local artists and creatives to host workshops, live demonstrations, and even art therapy sessions. The community quickly responded, and the gallery soon became a hub of activity, filled with the energy and excitement that had once seemed lost. Together, they worked late into the evenings, brainstorming new ideas and tackling the endless to-do list. But even in the busiest moments, there was a sense of renewal between them, an unspoken commitment to build something stronger than before. Nathan, meanwhile, had disappeared from their lives completely. His threats never materialized, and as the investigation into the loan company progressed, it became clear that he had his own problems to deal with. Sarah and Michael had won their battle, but it was the aftermath that truly tested their strength. One afternoon, as they stood in the newly revamped gallery, Michael wrapped his arm around Sarah's shoulders, pulling her close. "Look at this," he said, his voice filled with pride. We did it. Sarah smiled, resting her head against his chest. We did. The gallery was buzzing with people, artists setting up their workshops, visitors browsing the new installations, and students gathered in corners, learning from local painters. It was everything Sarah had dreamed of and more, but it wasn't just the success of the gallery that warmed her heart. It was the knowledge that she and Michael had come through the darkest time of their relationship and emerged stronger on the other side. As they watched the activity unfold, Sarah felt a deep sense of peace wash over her. The debts, the lies, the fear, it was all behind them now. There will still be challenges ahead, she knew that. But for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to face them. And as Michael kissed her forehead, she knew one thing for certain: no matter what came next, they would face it together. The moral lesson of Sarah and Michael's journey was clear: trust, once broken, can be rebuilt, but only with honesty, patience, and the willingness to face hard truths together. They learned that quick fixes often come with hidden costs, and true solutions require commitment and perseverance. In the end, they found that success wasn't just about overcoming financial struggles, but about rebuilding the foundation of their relationship, one step at a time.